You want to know why you're not where you want to be? It's not because you're not talented. It's not because you don't have opportunities. It's not because the world is against you. It's because you only work when people are watching. You work when your boss is around. You push yourself when your friends are at the gym with you. You show up when someone's going to notice. You perform when there's an audience. But the moment nobody's watching, you slack off. You cut corners. You do the minimum. You give yourself a pass. And that's why you're stuck. That's why you're not growing. That's why you keep wondering when your breakthrough is going to come. Because breakthroughs don't happen on stage. Breakthroughs happen in the dark. In the early morning when everyone else is asleep. In the late night when nobody knows you're still working. In the moments when there's no applause, no recognition, no one to impress. Greatness isn't built in front of crowds. Greatness is built in silence, in repetition, in the 1,000 hours nobody sees, in the work you do when there's zero chance anyone will ever know you did it. You see people on stage, you see them winning, you see them succeeding, you see them living the life you want, and you think they got lucky. You think they have something you don't. You think they're special. Wrong. They're not special. They just did the work when nobody was watching. While you were sleeping, they were working. While you were watching TV, they were training. While you were scrolling social media, they were building. While you were partying on Friday night, they were studying, practicing, improving. Not because someone was making them. Not because someone was watching. Not because they were going to get credit for it. Because they decided that who they become in private determines what they achieve in public. You want to know the difference between amateurs and professionals? Between dreamers and achievers? Between people who talk about goals and people who accomplish them? Amateurs need external motivation. Professionals have internal standards. Amateurs work when someone's watching. Professionals work when no one is. Amateurs need accountability from others. Professionals hold themselves accountable. That's the difference. And that difference creates everything. It's 4 a.m. Your alarm goes off. You plan to wake up early and work on your goals. But you're tired. The bed is warm. Nobody knows if you get up or not. Nobody's checking. Nobody's going to give you credit for getting up. Nobody's going to punish you for sleeping in. This is the moment. This is where greatness is built or destroyed. Not in the big decisions. Not in the moments everyone sees. In this moment, alone, in the dark, when nobody's watching, you either get up or you don't. And that choice isn't just about today. That choice is about who you're becoming. That choice is training your character. That choice is building or destroying your integrity. Because integrity isn't what you do when people are watching. That's called performance. Integrity is what you do when nobody's watching. When there's no reward for doing it right and no punishment for doing it wrong. That's the real test. That's where you find out who you really are. And most people fail that test every single day. They fail it when they hit snooze. They fail it when they skip the workout nobody knows they planned. They fail it when they don't do the work they said they'd do. They fail it when they cut corners nobody will ever discover. And then they wonder why they're not successful. They wonder why opportunities don't come. They wonder why they can't seem to break through. You want to know why? Because success can smell the lack of integrity. Success can sense when you're only performing for an audience. Success knows when you're faking it, when people are watching but quitting when they're not. You can't fake your way to greatness. You can't perform your way to excellence. You can't pretend your way to success. You have to build it in private. When nobody's watching, when nobody cares, when nobody knows. You're at the gym. You've done your planned workout. You're tired. You could leave right now. You've done enough. Nobody knows what your planned workout was. Nobody knows if you quit early. Nobody's going to ask if you did that extra set. Nobody's watching. This is the moment. Do you do the extra work? Or do you tell yourself, enough is enough, and leave? This moment seems small, insignificant. Who cares about one extra set? Who cares about 10 more minutes? What difference does it really make? Here's what it makes. All the difference. Because this isn't about one set. This is about who you're becoming in the moments nobody sees. This is about whether you're someone who does what you said you'd do, or someone who renegotiates with yourself when it gets hard. This is about whether your word to yourself means something. Whether your standards are real or just something you claim when people are listening. The person who does the extra set when nobody's watching, that person becomes someone different. That person builds a character that can't be broken. That person develops a work ethic that becomes automatic. The person who leaves early because nobody will know, that person is training themselves to take shortcuts. That person is building a character that collapses under pressure. That person is developing a habit of quitting when things get hard. And you can't separate who you are in private from who you are in public. You can't be disciplined when people are watching and undisciplined when they're not. You can't have integrity on stage and no integrity in the shadows. Who you are when nobody's watching is who you are. Everything else is just performance. The work nobody sees. You know what nobody sees? The preparation. They see the speech. They don't see the 100 hours of practice. They see the performance. They don't see the 1,000 repetitions that came before it. They see the success. They don't see the failures that taught you how to succeed. They see you on stage. They don't see you in the basement at 2 a.m. still working when everyone else quit hours ago. They see the final product. They don't see the drafts you threw away. The versions that weren't good enough. The work you redid because it didn't meet your standard, even though nobody else would have known. That's where greatness lives. In the work nobody sees. In the standards nobody knows you have. In the effort nobody can measure. The world sees 10% of what you do. The other 90%, that's between you and you. And that 90% determines everything. That 90% is where character is built. That 90% is where skills are developed. That 90% is where you become the person who's capable of the 10% everyone sees. You can't skip the 90% and expect to excel in the 10%. You can't avoid the private work and expect public success. You can't neglect the preparation and then show up and perform. It doesn't work that way. It's never worked that way. It will never work that way. The people who win, they won in private first. They did the work nobody saw. They met standards nobody knew existed. They pushed themselves when nobody was pushing them. Here's the question that determines everything. What's your standard when nobody's watching? Do you have one? Or do you only have standards when someone might check your work? Do you do things right because someone's going to inspect it? Or do you do things right because that's who you are? Do you cut corners when you can get away with it? Or do you maintain excellence even when no one will ever know? This is the difference between good and great, between average and excellent, between almost and accomplished. Good people do good work when someone's watching. Great people do great work when no one is. Average people meet external standards. Excellent people have internal standards that are higher than any external standard. Almost successful people work hard when it matters. Accomplished people work hard all the time because they understand that everything matters. Your standard when nobody's watching becomes your ceiling when everyone is. You cannot perform beyond the level you practice. You cannot execute beyond the standard you maintain in private. If you slack off when nobody's watching, you will never be excellent when everyone is. If you cut corners in the shadows, you will never be sharp in the spotlight. If you're mediocre in private, you will never be great in public. Your private standard is your real standard. Everything else is just temporary performance. Nobody will know if I skip this one time. It's just one workout, one day, one shortcut. I'll make up for it later. I deserve a break. This doesn't really matter that much. Every single one of these is a lie. And you know it's a lie, even as you're telling it to yourself. It does matter. Every single time matters, because you're not just making a choice about what to do. You're making a choice about who to be. Every time you let yourself slack off when nobody's watching, you're becoming someone who slacks off. Every time you cut a corner, nobody will see. You're becoming someone who cuts corners. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you're becoming someone who breaks promises. You think these choices are isolated, one-time things, exceptions. They're not. They're patterns, they're habits, their character formation, their identity construction. You're either becoming someone with integrity or someone without it. Someone with discipline or someone without it. Someone who does what they say or someone who makes excuses. And you make that choice in the moments nobody sees. In the decisions nobody knows about. In the standards you maintain when nobody's checking. Here's what most people don't understand. Greatness compounds in private. That extra set you did when nobody was watching, it's not just one set. It's proof to yourself that you're someone who does extra work. It's evidence that your standards are real. It's training your character to be disciplined. And tomorrow, when you face another moment where you could quit or push through, you have that proof. You have that evidence. You have that training. So you push through again. And you add another data point, another proof, another moment of character development. And this compounds. Day after day, week after week, year after year. While everyone else is doing the minimum when nobody's watching, you're doing the maximum. While everyone else is taking shortcuts in private, you're taking the long road. While everyone else is maintaining low standards in the shadows, you're maintaining high standards. And that difference compounds exponentially. After a month, you're slightly ahead. After 6 months, you're noticeably different. After a year, you're in a different category. After 5 years, you're in a different world. Not because you did one big thing, because you did 10,000 small things that nobody saw. Because you maintained standards in private that nobody knew existed. Because you built greatness in the moments nobody was watching. You think you're competing against other people, against your co-workers, against your classmates, against people in your industry. You're not. You're competing against the version of yourself that makes excuses, the version that takes shortcuts, the version that quits when nobody's watching. That's your real competition. That's the person you need to beat every single day. Every morning when the alarm goes off, you're competing against the version of you that wants to stay in bed. Every time you're at the gym, you're competing against the version of you that wants to leave early. Every time you're working on your goals, you're competing against the version of you that wants to watch TV instead. That's the fight. Not against other people. Against yourself. Against your own tendency to slack off when nobody's watching. Against your own desire to take the easy path when nobody will know. And here's the beautiful and brutal truth. You win or lose that competition in private. Nobody sees it. Nobody knows about it. Nobody gives you credit for winning or calls you out for losing. But the results show up in public. The character you build in private determines the success you have in public. The standards you maintain in shadows determine the excellence you display in the spotlight. You can't lose in private and win in public. You can't be mediocre when nobody's watching and excellent when everyone is. You can't build weakness in the shadows and demonstrate strength in the light. Who you are in private is who you are. That's your real self. Everything else is just temporary performance. You want to be excellent? Here's what it costs. It costs waking up early when everyone else sleeps. It costs staying late when everyone else left. It costs doing the work when nobody knows you're doing it. It costs maintaining standards when nobody's checking. It costs being disciplined when nobody's watching. It costs saying no to parties because you have work to do that nobody will ever know about. It costs missing social events because you're training while everyone else is relaxing. It costs being alone in the gym at midnight while everyone else is out having fun. It costs doing one more rep when nobody's counting. Reading one more page when nobody's testing you. Practicing one more hour when nobody's grading you. Revising one more time when nobody would know the difference. That's the cost. And most people aren't willing to pay it because most of that cost is paid in private. Nobody sees it. Nobody appreciates it. Nobody gives you credit for it. You pay it in the dark, in the early morning, in the late night, in the moments between what people see. And most people aren't willing to pay a price nobody sees. They want to be recognized for their sacrifices. They want credit for their work. They want applause for their effort. But excellence doesn't care about applause. Excellence doesn't need recognition. Excellence doesn't require an audience. Excellence is built in private, period. And if you need external validation to do the work, you'll never do enough work to become excellent. Because most of the work that creates excellence happens when nobody's watching. Every day you face dozens of moments where you choose who you're becoming. The moment you wake up, nobody sees if you get up when the alarm goes off or hit snooze 3 times. The moment you're alone with food choices, nobody sees if you eat the healthy meal you planned or grab fast food. The moment you finish your planned work. Nobody sees if you do the extra work or call it good enough. The moment you're tired and have the option to quit. Nobody sees if you push through or give yourself a pass. These moments seem insignificant. Who cares about one snooze button? Who cares about one missed workout? Who cares about leaving 10 minutes early? But these moments aren't insignificant. These moments are everything. Because these moments, accumulated over time, become your character, become your work ethic, become your standard, become your life. You are what you repeatedly do when nobody's watching. Not what you do once in front of an audience, not what you do when someone might notice, what you do repeatedly when nobody's there. That's who you really are. That's your actual character. That's your true standard. Most people have a gap between who they appear to be and who they actually are, between their public self and their private self, between their performance and their practice. They show discipline when people are watching. They slack off when nobody is. They act motivated in front of others. They're lazy when alone. They claim high standards publicly. They maintain low standards privately. That gap, that's called a lack of integrity. And that gap prevents greatness. You cannot be great with a gap. You cannot be excellent when there's a difference between your public and private self. You cannot achieve at the highest level when your performance doesn't match your practice. The gap has to close, and it closes one of two ways. Either you lower your public standards to match your private behavior. You stop pretending to be disciplined and just admit you're not. You stop claiming you're working hard and accept that you're not. Or you raise your private behavior to match your public standards. You become in private who you claim to be in public. You maintain in the shadows the standards you display in the spotlight. Most people choose option one. They lower their standards. They stop trying. They accept mediocrity and make peace with it. But if you want greatness, you have to choose option two. You have to close the gap by raising your private behavior, by becoming in the dark who you want to be, in the light, by maintaining when nobody's watching the standards you want to be known for when everyone is. That's integrity. That's character. That's the foundation of greatness. You know why most people quit before they achieve anything significant? It's not because it's too hard. It's not because they're not talented enough. It's not because they don't have opportunities. It's because they get tired of doing the work when nobody's watching. They get tired of waking up early when nobody knows. They get tired of practicing when nobody's testing them. They get tired of maintaining high standards when nobody's checking. They get tired of being disciplined when nobody's applauding. They want recognition. They want appreciation. They want someone to notice their effort. They want external validation for their internal work. And when it doesn't come, when they're still in the private, invisible phase of development, they quit. They decide it's not worth it. They decide if nobody's going to see it, why bother doing it? And that's exactly where they separate themselves from the people who make it. Because the people who become great understand something fundamental. The work in the shadows is preparation for success in the spotlight. You don't get the spotlight first and then do the work. You do the work first in the dark when nobody's watching, and then you earn the spotlight. The recognition comes after. The applause comes after. The success comes after. After you've done years of work that nobody saw. After you've maintained standards nobody knew existed. After you've built greatness in private. Every public victory starts with a private victory. Every achievement people see is built on preparation they didn't see. Every success in the spotlight started with work in the shadows. You want to win publicly? Win privately first. You want to be recognized? Become recognizable first by building skills in private. You want applause? Earn it by doing the work nobody applauds. You want success? Build it in the moments nobody sees. That's the sequence. That's always been the sequence. That's always going to be the sequence. Private victory first, then public victory. Never the other way around. And most people get this backwards. They want the public victory first. They want the recognition before they've done the work. They want the reward before they've paid the price. It doesn't work that way. You pay the price in private. You do the work in the shadows. You build the character when nobody's watching. And then the public victories come. Not because someone finally noticed you, because you became someone worth noticing. Not because you got lucky, because you built something that can't be ignored. Not because circumstances changed, because you changed. So here's the question, right now, in this moment, when nobody's watching, What's your standard? What are you doing when nobody knows? What choices are you making when nobody sees? Are you doing the work you said you'd do? Are you maintaining the standards you claim to have? Are you being the person you want to become? Or are you cutting corners because nobody will know? Are you taking shortcuts because nobody's checking? Are you making excuses because nobody's listening? This moment right now is building or destroying your greatness. This choice you're making when nobody's watching is determining your future when everyone will be. You think this moment doesn't matter, but this moment is everything. Because this moment repeated every day for 5 years determines where you end up. You can't slack off in private and succeed in public. You can't be mediocre in the shadows and excellent in the spotlight. You can't build weakness when nobody's watching and demonstrate strength when everyone is. Who you are right now, when nobody knows what you're doing, is who you really are. And that person is either building toward greatness or settling for average. Every moment you're making a choice. Not about what to do, about who you're becoming. Right now, this moment, when nobody's watching, what are you doing? What choice are you making? What standard are you maintaining? Are you doing the work you said you'd do? Are you being the person you claim to be? Are you maintaining the standards you talk about? Or are you cutting corners because nobody will know? Taking shortcuts because nobody's checking? Making excuses because nobody's listening? This moment right now, this moment when nobody sees what you're doing, this moment is building or destroying your greatness. You think this moment doesn't matter. You think it's just one choice, one time, one exception. But it's not one choice. It's the choice. The choice you make every single day, every single moment. The choice that determines everything. Do you work when nobody's watching? Or do you only work when someone is? Do you maintain standards when nobody's checking? Or do you only care when someone might notice? Do you have discipline when nobody's applauding? Or do you only perform when there's an audience? That choice is the difference between greatness and mediocrity, between excellence and average, between accomplished and almost. And you're making that choice right now, not tomorrow, not Monday, not when you feel motivated, right now. What are you going to do in the next hour when nobody knows what you're doing? Are you going to do the work? Or are you going to slack off because nobody's watching? What are you going to do tonight when everyone else is asleep? Are you going to push yourself? Or are you going to take the easy path because nobody will know? What are you going to do tomorrow morning when that alarm goes off? Are you going to get up? Or are you going to hit snooze because nobody's checking? These aren't small choices. These are the choice. The only choice that matters. Because who you are when nobody's watching is who you are. That's not one version of you. That's the real you. Everything else is just performance. And you can't perform your way to greatness. You can't fake your way to excellence. You can't pretend your way to success. You have to build it in private, when nobody's watching, when nobody cares, when nobody knows. So make the choice, right now, today, this moment. Do the work when nobody's watching. Maintain standards when nobody's checking. Be disciplined when nobody's applauding. Have integrity when nobody's testing it. Not because someone will notice, not because you'll get credit, not because there's an immediate reward. Because that's who you've decided to be. Because your word to yourself means something. Because your standards are real even when nobody's enforcing them. That's where greatness comes from. That's always where greatness has come from. That's always where greatness will come from. From the work nobody sees. From the standards nobody knows about. From the discipline nobody's watching. From the integrity nobody's testing. So build it. Build it in private. In the early mornings, in the late nights, in the moments nobody knows about. Build it when you're alone, when you're tired, when you're not sure it matters, when nobody's checking, when nobody cares. Build it anyway. Because one day, everyone will see what you built. Everyone will notice what you became. Everyone will recognize what you achieved. But by then, you'll know the truth. You'll know it wasn't built on that day. It was built in all the days before. In all the moments nobody saw. In all the work nobody knew about. Greatness is built when nobody's watching. Now go build it.